Hey everybody, I hope you guys are doing well. Today is Wednesday, it's October 21st. It's a beautiful day here in New York City. Um, I'm doing good. I'm hanging in there. I had a quiet day at home, did a little bit of cleaning, so I'm okay. Trying to declutter the place and slowly but surely. I'm running out of steam, but what can I tell you? Um, I'm doing good. This is my favorite part of the year, right? The holidays from Halloween straight all the way through New Year's is my favorite time of year. So I'm looking forward to the holidays. Um, I just I'm I'm trying to make the best of this situation as like everybody else. We're all quarantined. What can we do? Just trying to make the best of it and keep keep moving. Just hang in there as best I can. Um, So, firstly, I wanted to apologize. The last video that I uploaded, I didn't realize how much the camera was moving, and it's very distracting. And the other thing was my nose was, my nose was itching me, and I kept scratching my nose, and that was very it was very distracting. So I want to apologize for that, but I wanted to make a follow-up video to that video, and that's what I'm doing today. So let's get right into it. In that last video, I was talking about once we leave, for those who have left, um, I was talking about how we need to be very careful because with cults, there's a criminal element that operates in the background that we are not aware of. And so once we leave, we can be victims of harassment, and we need to be aware of that. That being said, that being said, I want to make sure that we understand. There's things we should talk about that contribute to us doing better as far as transitioning to the real world. And so that was the element I wanted to talk about today, right? We're always talking about the criminal element, blah blah blah. But there's things that we have to be mindful of ourselves once we leave the cult. One of the first things that we need to be careful of is our way of thinking, our way of gaining information. If you notice, when we were in the cult, Watchtower's way of teaching us and indoctrinating us was a question and answer method. They had home Bible studies with us. You had the Watchtower study, the Tuesday night book study. We had the meetings during the Thursday night, the theocratic school, and all of that. And all of those meetings were basically training, right, indoctrination sessions. But the way they did it was through a question and answer sessions. And with Watchtower's literature, right, there's, each the literature comes in paragraph format with questions at the bottom, and then the answer to those questions are to be found in the paragraph. And the reason why Watchtower trains or indoctrinates its members in that method is because then we become accustomed to not thinking for ourselves. We become accustomed to the answer being provided to us, to someone spoon feeding us information. It's giving us scriptures to look up. They're giving us the answer. They're giving us their interpretation of what the scripture of the scriptures. So basically, it our thought process is now it has now been changed, right? It's been crippled, so that we rely on others to feed us information, and we just go by whatever they tell us. Um, and so we would develop bad habits in that we may not research anything any further. We don't question anything. We don't confirm any information we've been told. We just go by what we've been told, and then we take the next steps and next actions based on whatever anybody just tells us. And that's a dangerous way to live. That's a dangerous way to gain information. It's a dangerous way to make decisions because we're not questioning anything. So my advice in this video, the reason I'm making this video is because I want you to be aware of that, and then, change the way that you get information, change the way that, you know, it just needs to I guess what I'm trying to say is that we need to be aware that we've been, the way our thought process works, it works against us. The reason why this is important is because there are people that are willing to scam us and take advantage of this, of our thought process, the way we think. Um, they use it to their advantage, and so that's why we need to be aware of this. If we don't question anything, we're gonna, if we don't question, if we just accept the information that's presented to us, we are going to set ourselves up for problems. So that's the first um, issue that I wanted to bring to the table. Is just be aware of where you get your information from, what you're told, who tells it to you, and the reason why it's important is because they may have an ulterior motive. They may have an agenda, and we just say, "Oh, this person's not going to lie to me. We'll just go by whatever they say," and that's not true. That's not always true. Another thing that we need to be careful of is when we leave the cult, sometimes we feel hungry, and that means we feel that our lives we were cheated out of the normal aspects of, most kids go to college and they have their careers, their friends, and all of this. A lot of us were cheated of that, and then we leave the cult and we're hungry. And so sometimes we see others that are making progress or making advancement in their careers and their personal lives or whatever, and we feel that, well, let me just hang on to this person and they can help me get to where I want to go. They can help me reach the next level. They can help me do this. And while that is not a bad way of thinking, it's not. I'm not condemning that. It's not bad. The thing is, sometimes that hunger makes us so. It puts us. That hunger makes it becomes the priority, and then we make bad decisions based on that feeling of the need for advancement. So that's what I'm trying to say is that that feeling of oh my God, my life has passed me by, I'm going to try and make up for lost time and all of this. We have to be careful. You have to be careful. You can't my nose is to me again. You can't make rash decisions or poorly ill-advised decisions or with partial knowledge, right, based on that hunger. Again, there are too many people that are willing to take advantage of you, for lack of a better word. And keep in mind, with the cult's criminal element working in the background, they've got a lead on us, a head start on us, because they already know our flaws. They already know where our strengths are, what our flaws are. They already know. So they're trying to use those against us. And so I hate to say it this way, but in some cases, they know us better than we know ourselves. So we have to be careful that we are not exploited, that we're not, and one of the ways that we can prevent this from happening, right, is if you want someone's help, right, is to establish contact with that person yourself, and do it in a normal and upright, and forthright way. In other words, if you go through another third party and say, I want to have contact with this other individual, well, then you're lining yourself up for problems. I'm on social media. There's no reason to go to anybody else or go through, let me check this person, let me ask this person. No, you can interact with me directly. I have my own YouTube channel. Again, you can leave comments, questions, whatever. You don't need to go to a third party. So my advice to anyone who is seeking to they may have questions, whatever, talk to me directly. Reach out to me directly. I'm on Reddit. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. That's the best way to reach me. I do have an email address. I can give you that if you need it. But definitely, you should reach out, and then that way you're not getting. The reason this concerns me is because when you're given information from a source other than the individual that is aside, you know what I mean? Like if you have a question for me and you're getting the answers from a third, fourth party, but you haven't heard anything from me, then that lends itself for you to be exploited. And because you are already um, in a vicarious position, in a dangerous position to be exploited, you're already at risk of being exploited just by being a former Jehovah's Witness. I have a problem with people going to other people for information about me. I would prefer that you start with me and then you go to others to confirm it or whatever. So that would be my first preference. And the reason I mention this is because if you do go to others, that's fine. But then I don't want you to be set up by them. I don't want them to use you for their own personal reasons. If someone has a gripe against me and then they use you as a way to get to me, it's not a good situation. So my advice to anybody that's wanting to have contact with me is to have contact with me directly. Don't allow others to use you, because even if it's seemingly like for a good purpose or a good reason, you may not have the whole story, the whole entire story. And so by the time the whole story comes out, you're already in it knee deep, and right, and then we're trying to dig out everybody and make sure everyone makes it out safely. So again, it's important that you don't allow yourselves to be exploited by others. And again, that sometimes we look at our situations and we don't think clearly. Sometimes we don't see the whole picture, and that when I say that, that includes myself. About seeing the whole picture, and we have to move forward, very carefully. So those are the two main things I wanted to make clear: is that our own thinking sometimes can lend itself to others to exploit us, and then others just take advantage of our naivety and our tendency to to think well of others and to give them the benefit of the doubt. One of the things I wanted to talk about as well is if you are being harassed, and this does not happen to every person that leaves the cult, but many of us have experienced harassment. One of the best things that helped me cope with it is doing XJW activism, and that is exposing the cult. And if you are a former Jehovah's Witness who is being harassed, my best advice to you is to expose the cult, help others leave. One of the things that I have been doing is encouraging others, governments globally, to revoke their tax-exempt status. If they haven't done so already, it needs to be done. Watchtower has a global child sex abuse cover-up problem. They have been very uncooperative when it comes to the investigative portion of dealing with that issue. They have been uncooperative when it comes to changing their policy. With the Australian Royal Commission, they in court under oath, we're going to change our policies. Once they were back stateside here in the U.S., we aren't changing anything. The government of Australia, and I shared this today on my Facebook page, but the government of Australia did an in-depth investigation of institutional child sex abuse cover-up, and it was found that Watchtower had over 30,000 cases of child sex abuse that none of them were reported to the police. The government of Australia came up with a redress scheme, and that scheme makes restitutions to the survivors of institutional child sex abuse. Involvement in that redress scheme is voluntary, on a voluntary basis, and Watchtower declined to participate in it. As a result, the government of Australia now is taking steps to deal with to deal with institutions who do not want to join that redress scheme. And one of the steps that is being taken is revoking their tax-exempt status. And that is a very, very important step to take. And I hope other countries globally take similar measures against Watchtower. It's imperative that Watchtower is held accountable for this issue of neglect. Um, there should be mandatory reporting of child sex abuse, and the clergy should not be exempt from reporting child sex abuse. So there you go. That's one of the things that as that we should be encouraging across the globe on this issue of child sex abuse. We should be encouraging governments to revoke the tax exempt status of any institution that covers this up, so forth and so on. All right, so that's one thing we can be doing. Another issue that we should be doing is this. Watchtower has, of course, the members of Watchtower, we are told as Jehovah's Witnesses we have to be neutral. And what that means is when it's time to register for military service, we don't participate in this. There have been brothers that have been sent to prison for refusing to register, participate in military training, right? And so some of them have been in prison for years. And that's another issue that we should be speaking out against as XJW activists, is trying to get those prisoners released. Any Jehovah's Witness who has not done anything criminal should not be languishing away in prison. I firmly believe that Jehovah's Witnesses don't belong in prison for their beliefs. They need to be given mental health services by therapists who specialize in cults and who can help them. Years ago it was called deprogramming, but basically that's what is needed. They need to be helped so that they can resume a normal life in the real world. And so that's what I would hope. And globally, we need to make that happen. So that's what I'm encouraging you to do. Look for ways. If you are being harassed by a Watchtower, my best advice to you is to strike out. You will feel less victimized if you in some way do what you can to empty out that cult, and it needs to be done globally. So lend your voices to that. I'm going to tell you something. That was one of the things that helped me the most. I was angry a lot, bitter about the harassment I was experiencing for years and years and years. And I was just, inside I was just like steaming, right? But eventually when I moved to the place where I was ready to take action and speak out against the cult and speak out about what was happening to me, I felt much better. I felt less victimized. I felt like I got this. I didn't feel like a victim anymore. And so that's what I'm encouraging you all to do. The main thing we have to remember is that cult needs our silence. And if we remain silent, we only help the cult. The more of us that speak out, the more of us that contact our politicians and legislators about this issue, then we stand a chance of getting this handled. But if we remain silent, if we remain afraid to speak up, we are going to continuously face the same issue, and Watchtower will continue to try to rope others in. And, we have to be aware of that. So that's my video for today. I hope you guys were able to follow along with what I'm trying to say. And again, I'm going to keep making videos. I stopped for a while. I pretty much felt like, maybe I didn't know. Usually I take my cues from what's going on and on social media and the posts there. And so that's what I'm going to continue to do. I'll just check in the groups and see, and let that be the way I figure out if I need to do a video and so forth and so on. Again, and if you have any questions, recommendations, or anything, please leave it below in the comment section below. And I hope you guys have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Hang in there. Bye.